We are from America, and let's give them a big round of applause first. And so they are traveling here in Kenya for 2 weeks. This is their last week, and they have come with some of their friends and associates from all over America, and we are very grateful. Today they are speaking about a very famous topic, the topic about relationships. Madana-gopāla Prabhu has been married for 24 years, 24 or 25?
24, 25th now, so 24 complete. 24
complete, it's very important. 24 complete and 25 starting. Because we know relationships, even to have it for like 1 month going, so much problem. Sindio, how many of you agree? There's so much irritation, there's so much answering back, there's so much kuchoka. Sio? So they have done it for 25 years. It's not an easy thing. So today we are going to hear about, both of them are going to speak about the aspect or the art of relationships. Yeah? And in this way I'm going to inspire us. My request to both the boys and the girls, please ask as many questions as you feel. We have enough time. Although our clock stopped working today at 21. So it's a good sign, so you know you don't know the time, you can just speak till you get tired. And then we will serve prasad. So once again, let us welcome Madana-gopāla Prabhu and his dear wife by chanting together.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
No, you have to speak up.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you all for coming, my dear brothers and sisters and friends in Kenya. We are very excited to be here in your presence. Thank you to Govind Prem Prabhu and Sita Mataji for organizing this small talk and so that we can meet and interact casually. So we'll try to speak something on relationship, just like how Prabhuji mentioned. So Grihastha life is not just a social arrangement, but it is also a spiritual arrangement where two souls come together and they progress in their life together with the blessings of the God. So the arrangement is made so that we bring out best in each other. One person inspires the other gets inspired and progresses. The other person sometimes inspires, and the first one gets progress. Let me introduce myself a little bit, what I do. So in ISKCON, I serve as a child protection team lead in the local temple. I have also worked in child protection department on the national level for certain number of period for the North American. And I also am the catering lead. I'm also organizing a program for congregational preaching, which is basically Grihasthas getting together. We meet, we chant, we talk, we discuss a lot, and that's how we share. So that is one of the programs. I'm also a mother of a 23-year-old boy. I also work full-time in a bank, and yeah, that's how I spend the whole time. My time is divided like that. So let me add to how and when we both inspired each other in this path of spiritual life. We met when we got married, and then after marriage it was not like an instant thing, because it's not like in love marriage you have time to understand each other. In arranged marriage you don't have that much time. You do interact with each other, but you have not gotten that space. So after marriage, of course, my husband and my partner, he his way of life was very simple. He's a very deep person, very soft at heart but firm, if you know what I mean. So the life was very simple. But when I saw that when he played with my child, and the child was naturally learning everything that the father was doing, be it chanting, be it serving the God, be it offering different things, or be it reciting the verse. He would be just playing around his father and he would be singing those verses. And that inspired and that clicked that if I can help in what he is doing, it will be not just good for him, but it will also be good for my son. So it added a lot of inspiration to me. It brought a new awareness that hey, we both can do it together and it will be good not just for me and you, but for the child and for the society at large, as a couple, as a family. So let me just go ahead and introduce Madana-gopāla Prabhu. So my husband, he works full time in the IT industry. He is member of regional governing body of North America for ISKCON. He is also the co-director of communications of entire North America. He is a director in the temple that is in New Jersey. He is an active member in building up a new temple that is coming up in New Jersey. And apart from that, he guides and he counsels a lot of family members, family people, partners, husband, wife. So that's a small introduction about him. There's much more to say, but I'll just pause here and I'll invite Madana-gopāla Prabhu to speak.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the setting the scene. I'm going to invite you to visualize something. Imagine you and your life partner, say potentially future spouse, walking on a narrow bridge above a valley, a canyon. What's a canyon? Like a valley, there's a bridge over it. Cliffs. On one side, you have the cliff of ego. Ego. I think he was very proud, pride. On the other side is the cliff of complacency. Where you want to feel you don't feel like doing anything. Now, every word you speak, every look you give, it either becomes a stabilizer of the bridge or it makes it wobble. Everything you do will contribute to the stability or wobbliness of that bridge. The bridge starts out with just being a rope bridge with maybe wooden planks or something. But it could develop and evolve into something more stable and solid, depending on what you say and what you do. At that moment, you realize that relationships are not neutral. They're either pulling you upwards or dragging you downwards. So, Srila Prabhupada, he wrote something very interesting in a letter. He said, we should never think of our so-called advancement as being conditioned by or dependent on some set of material circumstances, such as marriage. Mature understanding of Krishna consciousness means that whatever condition of life I am at present, that is Krishna's special mercy upon me. So basically, the baseline to understand. You should understand that God, Krishna, has a role in your life. And the more we recognize it, the more it impacts how you see things in relationships. So Prabhupada's main point here was, whatever your relationship condition is, you know how we have relationships, sometimes it's stable, not stable, sometimes it's not even a relationship, it's a situationship. It's like a new word. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's a situation, it's a relationship, but not exactly, you know. So he said, whatever condition it is in, let it be Krishna's mercy and your field of service. Bring Krishna into it. Another letter he wrote, I'm very much happy to hear that you are happily engaged in devotional service and living as an ideal grihastha. Grihastha means a couple who have God in the center of their lives, who want to become more God conscious, and who want to help each other become more God conscious. The point here is that the ideal grihastha exists. Some of the things that's never going to happen. It doesn't even exist. Prabhupada saying, I see your ideal grihastha. It is possible. You're not compromising spirituality by being in a relationship or being married, especially if you get married. You're fulfilling a divine role. So, the theme of today's talk is that good relationship brings out the best in each other. Think of that point. This is key. How do you know a relationship is good? If you feel like being better person. If you feel like being a little bit more polite. If you feel like being a little bit more expert in understanding the other person. A little bit more sensitive. That means your relationship is good. That person is inspiring you to be a better version of yourself. Being nice to each other. Think of a tree planted in fertile soil. You water it, give it sunlight. The tree grows strong, fruits come out abundantly, give shade to everybody. A good relationship is like that. One spouse's devotion, patience, loving service becomes the sun and the water for the other. What are the results? Results are you become more stable mentally. You become more self-control. You have joy in your life. You have devotion and you have a sense of purpose. I personally noticed that whenever I became more attentive to my wife's service, she responded not simply by being helpful, but by uplifting our home. I encourage her. The side effect is not just being thankful and being helpful for that one thing. The side effect is that she becomes a better version of everything she's doing. She became a better mother. She became better, appreciating of the home and really bringing up the home so much in quality of life. Raising our son with confidence, making our temple service stronger. She could have just said, no, this is the temple thing, that's your thing. Let me do my thing. No. Although she got married, when we got married, she did not come from an ISKCON background per se, but she came from a very strongly spiritual background. But she embraced Krishna consciousness with a full heart, and I never forced her. My prayer was, I hope I can be good enough as an inspiration. I would pray to Krishna. Krishna, please make me an inspiration that if I do something, she'll be also inspired and I can appreciate her. So it's not easy. In the beginning, you always have to figure things out. Unfortunately, we're not taught these things. That's why it's nice that when the Prabhu is setting this, we can share what we learned with you. And hopefully that can be applicable to you as well. So she became so inspiring. I saw, wow, she's doing so much for me. I mean, she didn't have to even do this kind of stuff. She is embracing. In fact, she got even ahead of me in so many ISKCON ways. Like, wow, this is great. Let me be more sensitive to her. You know, she asked me to do certain things that I found very boring. Forget my boredom. I'll just do it. You know, it's a bit of give and take, and I become better in that field. Now, every relationship has good days and bad days. So it's not about is my relationship good or is my relationship bad. It's about what can I learn? How can I improve? And if a relationship becomes bad and progressively bad, what does that look like? That's also a problem. How can I identify? Now, we talk about the tree which is very successful, strong, giving fruits. Contrast that with a neglected garden. No care, no weeding, no nurturing, no fertilizers. What happens? The weeds start growing. The flowers, the plants we want to grow, they struggle. In a relationship where communication decays, where the standard conversation is blame. It was your fault. No, it's your fault. You need to, this goes on and on. That's the standard language of the day. And the ego is more important than the relationship. I told you this way. I told you. This is how it's supposed to be. We don't back down from the ego. Then what happens? We find the relationship bringing out the worst in us. And we realize, oh my God, I didn't even know I was capable of being so harsh. I was not that way before. It's because of that person. Because of her, I've become like a demon. I was not like that. I was a very nice person. Isn't it? Have you heard of that? I'm not like this, but normally I'm not like this, but when she comes, I just become, This is called the effect of neglected garden. And even that, we want to shift the blame to the other person. Nobody's forcing us to be angry. That's always our choice. So, thus we see, what do we see? That Srila Prabhupada warned us that when a person sacrifices his quality of being good, that becomes subservient to the qualities of passion and ignorance. We talk about goodness, passion, and ignorance. And we lead our way down to the lower modes, where we start thinking in terms of insults, thinking in terms of being angry, aggravated. It's a dark space. So practical guidance. There can be three things I can think of that you want to ask yourself. Reflect on these questions. Does my presence bring peace, or does it bring tension to my partner's mind? Do I say things that intentionally, or even not intentionally, unintentionally irritate my partner? Does my partner feel safe in opening their heart to me? When they open their heart, I understand where it is completely neglected. Did I respond very sensitively? They're opening their heart, they're vulnerable, and choose this opportunity to get back at them. Or do they really feel safe to open up? And the third question is, are we teammates fighting Maya, fighting illusion, fighting the darkness? Or are we opponents fighting each other? Something to reflect. For the young and unmarried, ask yourself, will this person bring out the best in me spiritually and emotionally? Or will this person be a distraction? And for those of us who are married for some time, you can ask, have we drifted into friction instead of upliftment? And what can we change now? Now, reflect on this a little bit. With that reflection in our mind, let's move into how we can cultivate our stable relationship step by step. So there are 5 pillars of Grihastha life. First pillar. So I asked Mansi Ganga Mataji to explain the first pillar. This is the pillar.
So the first pillar is purpose before pleasing. Picture a ship, like a large ship, That ship doesn't have a compass. It's just aimlessly in the sea. It's drifting between the, whatever the wood comes or anything comes. And how it will be? It is an aimless ship going in the ocean. But relationship should not be like that. It should have a purpose. The purpose is when the two people come together, unite for a higher purpose. Converse with each other so you can decide which direction you want to shift your ship towards, and not drifting apart or coming together aimlessly. We chose to be Krishna conscious. That was the main anchor of our life. That is the main center of our life. So we follow that path. We do everything. We work outside, socially we are active, we meet people, we greet people, we bring up our child, we support friends and family. But we do all of it with the intention of pleasing the Supreme Lord and helping, supporting each other in doing all those activities. Next pillar.
So that's for pillar 1, purpose. Purpose is the point, the very most important one. The second pillar, which is also important, is communication as a sacred exchange. Srila Prabhupada taught that the husband is spiritual master to his wife. But if the wife can bring her husband into practicing this process, this is also very nice. He said both. It's not that only husband can be master. Whoever brings you closer to Krishna, encourages you, that person should take a little bit of a lead to guide you. And the communication that you have should be around that purpose. So you said pillar 1 is the purpose. Pillar 2 is a communication around that purpose. It's very good every now and then, say once a week, set aside a few minutes each evening, in the once a week to discuss without any interruption. 10 minutes. You can ask, how did you experience Krishna this week? What challenge can I support you with? Just asking that as a communication bridge is very, very powerful. It means I am here for you. I want you to succeed. I will help you. Relationship is more than just romance and batting eyes at each other. It is much more. We want to build each other. Yes, the romance is a part of it, no problem. It's very natural to have affection, all that. It's very natural. But that's just the beginning. Now we have to build something together. A relationship of trust and communication. So the communication is like, make some time to talk about this. Don't just assume, I know what he thinks. No. Even if you know, it's always good to talk, because the gesture of asking, how can I support you? The gesture itself deepens your love. It shows you care. That is pillar number 2. So this kind of communication sanctifies the relationship. How can I help you be more Krishna conscious? Or any reflection you had that helped you move upward in your Krishna consciousness? Or some things that brought you down in your Krishna consciousness? How can we work together to kind of come out of that? Find some time to talk. Don't assume that just because we are together in a relationship that everything is understood. Don't assume that. A lot of times, communication falls down because we made certain assumptions. So don't hold back on the communication and talking. Get used to it. Doesn't matter what your personality. Even if you're introvert, shy person, doesn't matter. You can still talk to the other person. Pillar 3.
Teamwork in service, no competition. That is pillar number 3. Think of 2 oxen pulling a plow, not racing with each other, but working together to open the field. Marriage should be like that. A relationship should be like that. In Kenya, we have dual cultures: African, extended family, Indian tradition of arranged marriage, modern pressures of work abroad. Under all of that, competition creeps in. I do more surveying, or you aren't helping enough. But Krishna consciousness transcends all that. Srila Prabhupada emphasizes that we want a Krishna conscious ideal grihastha. It's a teamwork.
So that's pillar number 3 is teamwork. Pillar number 1, I'll just recap. 1 was purpose, before pleasing. Number 2 was communication as a sacred exchange. Not just communication about how the day went, but bring Krishna into communication. And pillar 3, teamwork. Work together, like you see the 2 oxen that tie together. They're not racing each other. It's not a race, not a competition. Okay, that's pillar number 3. Now, pillar number 4 is very, very important. All the pillars are important, but this one is where a lot of the time we don't do well. It's called emotional care. You may do your responsibilities, perhaps one partner goes out and works and brings a certain amount of money, the other partner does more at home, or maybe there's a bit of a balance. You do your part in keeping the house together, in keeping the relationship going in something functional. You care for each other that way. One person takes care, maybe you take a car together, whatever it is, different kind of things about life to get it work. But are we also putting some effort in emotional care? Say you want to serve Krishna together. It's not just the big temple programs, but in the small gestures at home. Listening when your spouse is down, feeling down. Offering a cup of hot ginger water or whatever, like something to drink. Wiping away the tears. These are also devotional acts. Remember, this is not separate from serving Krishna when you care for each other emotionally. Because you're helping another devotee. Srila Prabhupada wrote actually. He says, actually there is no difference between devotees living inside the temple and devotees living outside the temple. Don't think that only ashram is devotees and people outside are not devotees. Don't think like that. Important thing is to remember Krishna, whatever your activity. So, some tip for this pillar number 4, emotional care. Choose one intentional, daily, small act of care this week. At the end of the week, review it. Did it affect our mood as a couple? I did something a little bit more intentional. I'm doing something on a weekly basis. I must do something to show care, that I care. Something meaningful. Something genuinely heartfelt. When emotional care is devotional care, when you see this as serving Krishna, you recognize it's not separate from my relationship with God. My relationship with my spouse is not separate. Then the home becomes a sanctuary. The home becomes a place of peace, it becomes a temple. It becomes a place where God is very happy to keep giving His blessings. But we have to care for each other emotionally.
Yeah, so all the activities we do, small, big, we try to do it together as a family, as a unit, because by this time we have decided that we have one unified goal, we want to come together and do it, whatever we are doing it, put our heart in it. Communication was important, so we communicated very well. And now, the goal is to do everything with keeping Krishna in the center of our activities. You can add.
Sure. So like we talked about the 4 pillars prior, right? The first one was we have to have a purpose. Purpose of life has to be aligned. Second, communication, make it sacred. Third, work together, don't try to compete with each other. It's not a race. That will be a very unhealthy relationship if you're now trying to one-up each other and show how much better you are. Maybe for fun it's okay. You go for a swim together, I can do fast things. That's fine. But in life we don't do that. In life we must support each other. Okay? And pillar number 4, talk about emotional care as the devotional service. When you care for each other emotionally, that is not separate from your service to God. That's pillar number 4. Pillar number 5, like she mentioned, keep Krishna in the center. Just like the roots of the tree. The roots of the tree, they anchor the tree firmly. So Krishna has to anchor our relationship. Without him, the winds of ego, the storm of distraction or emotional clashes will topple the big tree. Even if you spend a lot of time and resources developing a relationship, but if the root is not strong, if the root is not deeply reposed in Krishna consciousness, that big tree will topple and will be a tragic thing in life. And we see these tragedies happening all the time. This is why Krishna consciousness has to be brought into life in a very healthy way under the guidance of those who have experienced it. It's really wonderful when that happens. It's wonderful to see the fruits of what that happens. Krishna and the roots. So Prabhupada insisted, whatever condition of life I am in, he said, let me take advantage in the best way possible to spread this Krishna consciousness movement and conduct my spiritual master mission. So, if you have a purpose that I want to not only take advantage of the spirituality in Krishna consciousness, but I should also now pay it forward by spreading it. I owe it to Prabhupada. I owe it to the gurus who taught me. We have so many teachers. Each of us has many, many gurus who bring us closer to Krishna. We owe it to everyone who gave us even a little bit of Krishna consciousness. To now, we cannot pay them back, it's not possible. But we do something to keep spreading it. This is how you pay them forward. This is how I can pay forward to my teachers. I ask my gurus, you've done so much for me. What can I do? Just keep doing what I did for you. Whatever small way you can. Give it to one other person. Then what happens? Your relationship, if you work on that together, it'll thrive, because now you're not thinking of how to attack each other, you're thinking how to give better to the world. And you'll realize that it's deepening your own affection for each other in a very strong way, very healthy way, where the tree roots are even stronger. And you want to stay together for a long, long time and be happy. Alright? So, here we come to the end of our presentation. Let me invite you to visualize your own home. Say 5 years from now, or maybe 10 years from now. The mind of your future spouse or current spouse turns to you with trust and joy. Your children or potential children, they're growing in devotional strength. Your service in Krishna consciousness extends outwards. Why? Because you chose to bring out the best in each other, because you nurtured purpose, you brought in maturity, patience, loving care in your relationship. You brought in teamwork, emotional care, and you kept Krishna at the heart of the root. If you allow yourself just one success story rather than a story of breakdown, you will serve as a beacon in your community. That is the Grihastha idea. Thank you very much. We can open up for discussion. Just touch on a few pillars to get your mind thinking. This is just to get you thinking. We didn't go too deep into each one of these, but just to give you some idea of how you can structure your roadmap for this relationship.
Any question, like how did you approach the person, what questions do you ask, what makes you convinced of that this is the person that's right, this is the right person, what made you convinced? You can ask any of those questions. We try to give whatever practical explanation or observations we have.
And we always willing to share our experiences, what we've seen. We've experienced quite a lot, but we haven't experienced that much as some of the other people have. So we also want to know. Yes.
Answer.
Yes, please.
You know, like how once you mentioned in the beginning, she mentioned about something called arranged marriage. So here in Kenya, we don't have this concept of arranged marriage. Can you please just
Elaborate.
Would you like me to answer? So, yes, this concept of arranged marriages is it's also a process where two people are notified that, oh, this is a good boy, this is a good girl, and the families let them talk. And then after once they are introduced to each other, then it's the same as love marriage process. You talk, you ask questions, You take your time as long as it takes to accept and make sure that is this the right person, is it not? That's your time to explore what are the intentions, what are the goals of the next person, what are they trying to do, what nature and background are they coming from. All these are very important things that needs to be communicated, that needs to be asked, that needs to be known. So it is said arranged marriage, but this is a whole long process where both of them have freedom to talk and make an educated decision.
I will just add a little bit more. Sometimes you may wonder, this arrangement, what exactly, how did it come about? There's a lot of tradition behind that concept from the ancient days, and it's not limited only to India. This is very common in many other European cultures as well, where people living in a village or even a town, a lot of families know each other, and so the elders, the tradition was, the elders have a good sense of which person will be compatible with the other person, because they have a lot of experience. They see what things work, what kind of patterns, emotional things. So then they try to find a good match from what they're, based on their experience and so on and so forth. And then they talk to each other, the families talk to each other. Like one family referred to another family and say, I think your girl should be really good for that particular cousin's second best, whatever best friend. He has a nice boy. In my opinion, I've seen them both, it will be a good match. Think about it. Then they introduce the families first. Families talk to see if it might be some good option. And then, so this is how it develops, you see. It includes the wisdom of the elders in the whole choosing process. And that's why the failure rate of relationships in marriage in the countries where this is prominent is much, much lower. Because what happened, in the choosing factor, there's a lot of wisdom injected in both sides. See? A lot of times families say, I don't think it's even going to work. I know the boy, I know the girl. Maybe for the first year they like each other, but knowing their personalities, it's going to be quite a disaster. So that's why when you inject wisdom into choosing, it cuts down the probability of failure by a lot. So that's the point of arranged marriage. Doesn't mean that we have to now figure out how we can implement it in Kenya. I'm just saying, give you the background. But what we could do is we can take the elements of that and see, when we're choosing, can we try to at least visualize from the elder's point of view? Maybe you can just think, elder's wisdom. Can we incorporate, what do they think about when choosing? Not just the love at first sight or, romance and so on, but are there other factors that I should consider before moving ahead that the elders typically used to choose? Is that okay? Yes.
Very short. Thank you for the class. So my question is...
Sorry, if you do not mind, you can say your name. Andrew.
Some of us have started working, and sometimes there's so much pressure at work, especially if you're taking like a month away, especially in IT. So sometimes you come home, you're very tired, you don't want to talk, you just want to stay silent. And especially if you're testing the deliveries, it can take about 1 week or 2 weeks, that is a lot of pressure. So how can you handle that? Maybe your partner wants to talk to you, but you just want to stay quiet and rest. So that is the first thing, how you can handle those dynamics so that at least you can maintain a good relationship in the long term.
Yeah.
Then I can add the second one. Wait, this is the first.
Yes.
The second question. So the second question is that sometimes in a relationship you should give each other space so that at least to maintain it. So how often should you do that so that at least you can maintain that?
So the first question I can answer. So my husband works in a city which is a very fast-paced city, but it's far. So the commute takes long, and the working hours are also very long. So he comes home every day practically exhausted, and the work is also very demanding because the industry is like that. And nowadays, and it is the case, I am assuming in Kenya also, there's a lot of pressure in the workforce. Like, few amount of employees and large, too much work. So only few are tackling a large base of work. So coming home very exhausted. But yes, he would communicate is the key. He would communicate from the office itself that this is going to be a long day. Meetings will go run late and everything. I'll be exhausted. So two things. I'll just make sure that if he's going to be eating that day, food is prepared and everything is ready. Sometimes he's so exhausted he just goes to bed. So you have to leave, as a partner has to understand that if that person is exhausted, there's nothing much more you can do. Give them the space. And absolutely that is true. If you don't give the space, then anything you want him to do will not produce good result. Any question you ask will not have a perfect answer because the energy is not there. So giving space absolutely is necessary in those times where the burden of work is very heavy. And at the same time, we have to find out a time where there is a downtime, there is relaxation time. No human being can work 24 hours, 365 days constantly like that. It is just not possible. So there should be a work and life balance, which is a big thing. If we don't balance our time properly, it will ultimately not just take away good health, but everything we have. So that is the first part.
I want to add a little bit more. Yes, that's exactly right what she's saying. Like she's mentioned, I would send her a text. Because in the office, I can't talk on the phone too much or something, right? And text is sometimes more efficient. So we've just decided. We communicate. If I want to tell something important, like, listen, I just came out from a meeting and it looks like next 2 weeks I'll be basically underwater. In fact, we may not even get a chance to talk for next. It's crunch time. 2, maybe 3 weeks. But please understand, this is a sensitive time in a sense. Please understand, this is how it's going to be. And that's all you need to tell her. She'll know exactly what I'm going through. She will not take it the wrong way that I didn't speak to her. Because we've learned the code for each other's schedules now. It's a code. Even one sentence, then she's at peace. I understand, no problem. Even if you snap at me that day, I will not take it the wrong way. She knows that because I'm under pressure. And she comes and says, you should try this mango. I don't like mangoes. Why do you keep bringing this? Why do you keep bringing mangoes in front of me now? That time she'll understand, she'll smile and she'll know it. She knows crunch time. You see? She'll not take it the wrong way because I told her this 2 weeks is going to be bad. She will not take it. She'll actually be happy. Actually, she said, oh, I made a mistake. She'll talk to herself. But if I say that on a nice day, then she will do herself. I have no reason to stand like that. So then she'll ask me, look, this is not crunch time. I think it's peace. Is anything else bothering you? Because it's not your normal behavior. Normally you love this kind of life. So you set expectations and communicate clearly. The more you do that, these kind of things have a way of then they don't matter so much. Relationship is very strong. In practical world, she understands what you're going through. You also have to understand what she goes through too. If she can learn to communicate. And you can see that her side is also tough. That's why when people give an irritated response, it may not be that particular situation that's the problem, it's something else. So then you be sensitive and try to help him whatever I can. Sensitivity is the root of it. And then your other question was about giving each other space. That's also important. But you have to also get a sense, when you're sensitive enough, you have to also be somewhat educated or learn why that person needs space, how much space they need, and also perhaps communicate that it is something that you can do to improve, that she doesn't need so much space. Perhaps she only needs space because I'm doing something that I don't know about, Like, if I have a bad habit of chewing my nails, spitting all over the house, and then she says, I need some space. And I keep doing that. But I don't know, that's the reason why she needs space. I need some space because I'm sick and tired of spitting all over the fingernails. I have to keep changing. I need some mental space. But if you can somehow get her to say, this is something I'm doing, this is something I can improve, so don't constantly need space. Is it? You want to add something?
Yeah, in relationship, honesty is very important. If the partner sees that you are just making excuse that I'm busy for next few days, but the cycle is very frequent, then the partner understands where there's something going on wrong. So full honesty is important and understanding is also important. That plays an important role. Any other question?
Any questions? This is a great question. Thank you, Andrew. Andrew, by the way, is in IT. I know. I met Andrew last year and we talked about it. I don't know. Anyone else? Please share. You know.
Yeah, feel free to.
Feel free. I know there's questions in your mind. You feel a little shy. It's okay. Just this is a safe space. Anybody else? Yes, please. Say your name so we know.
My name is Manes. I have 3 questions.
Yes.
So, does the concept of an arranged marriage take away from the magic, in quotes, for lack of a better word, of finding and falling in love with your future partner? That's my first question. The second question is, how do you deal with the conflicting views on particularly important matters that will affect the relationship? Third question, how do you look past the red flags, in quotes, when you're trying to find a potential partner?
Yeah. Very good question. 3 good questions. One is how about the magic and about the love aspect in an arranged marriage. How does that even work out? The second was about
Conflicting views.
conflicting views. How do you handle those? And the third was the red flags.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about the 2 models: arranged marriage versus love marriage.
Oh, just
Yeah, that's what it's saying.
I think you arranged my.
Yeah. So in one sentence, I'm just talking about in arranged marriage. In love marriage, you marry the person you love. In arranged marriage, you develop love for the person you marry over time, gradually.
Yeah, love comes later.
Love comes later. You get married first, and then we'll figure out. You won't believe in some of our Indian arranged marriages. You meet at the wedding at the altar for the first time. You lift the altar, you lift the veil. Oh, you look like that. Nice.
Ours was not that bad. Ours was not that bad. We met just the day before our engagement.
Oh, actually, I was not that bad. We actually knew each other. We were communicating on the phone and we used to send photos and all that for a full year. For several months. So we still get to know each other, but still arranged by family. So that's one thing. Now, the second question was about how do you deal with the conflicts? Yeah. Can you give conflicting views? Can you maybe give a couple examples just to clarify?
I don't have an example for saying, but let's think in a scenario where you have to make a decision on one matter, but both of you have conflicting views on the same matter.
Yeah, it's a major important decision.
Yeah.
Major decision on one issue,
Yeah.
but you both have very different opinions that are in opposite directions.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I'll be completely and ruthlessly honest about it. I come from India and we are very culturally rooted there. Prabhuji is born and brought up in Kenya and then we moved to America. Here also, the Indian culture is very strong and very refined. But India has progressed. The changes that happen in India doesn't necessarily reflect in the culture here. So when we got married and we had elders who had conflicts with us and their schedules were not proper and we could not accommodate whatever they had desired to. So my view was that just let them know ahead of time that we are not here, we will not be available if they want to do this event or ceremony. And my husband, although he's not technically Indian, he had really hard time how to break it down to his parents. So they're completely, like, he understood me, but he could not arrange how to say to the parents. So in that he just felt very shy. He would not mention it to parents, and that it led to the confusion. Will you be there or will you not be there? And finally, because after arranged marriage, you don't really press the person so much because you don't know what are his limits. And he would not press me so much because he would not know where my limits started and ended. So I just laid down the fact and ask, what do you think? If you were in that position, would you like to know ahead of time? If you are a parent, would you like to know that this schedule is going to work or not? Eventually, the partner understood and he explained it to the elders that we are not available, please choose another date and we can probably do things better way. So yes, it took time. It took time and patience on my side to put down the ideas. Here they are, these are the facts, this is what we can do, this is what we cannot do. Now you decide. So at some point you have to trust your instincts, and you have to give time. And ultimately whatever decision he makes, he makes.
So how do you work on this as general advice?
As a general advice, you do discuss, open up, talk about the facts, the realities, what is possible, what is not possible. If it's possible, if it's doable, do it together. If it's not possible, not doable, then you weigh your options.
Is that helpful? There's one more question. We want to address the third one.
Yeah, there's one more question. How do you trust
The red flags.
Yeah.
Yes. So, red flags are there for a reason. You have to evaluate the weight of the red flag. How red is it? In other words, is this a red flag that will impact the entire length of our relationship, the whole life? Is it a personality trait that very unlikely is difficult to change and I will not be able to do it? For example, for me, it's very important. For example, say for example, for me, it's very important that the other person has good manners in respecting people in general. It's very important for me. If they don't know how to respect people, I won't be able to tolerate it too long. Now I don't know that because we're just starting to know each other. How do I know how respectful they are? So you can look for those traits. I think I gave an example during the class. He said they go out for dinner or something. And then he treating the girl very nicely. He opens the door for her, he pulls a chair behind, and he asks her, what do you like to eat? Anything you want is okay. He opens the door of the car, everything is very nice. But to the waiter, he says, hey, shh, come here! What? Very rude. He thinks it doesn't matter to the girl. But to the girl, that means everything. If this is how he's treating a person he doesn't even know, at the irritation, he'll start treating me like that. This red flag is non-negotiable. So my point with this example is, the red flag itself has to be evaluated first. Sometimes you may end up losing a gem of a person because the red flag was so insignificant. I don't like the way, he scratches his head constantly like this. But everything else about him is fantastic. But that irritates me. I can't marry someone who scratches their head like this. You see what I'm saying? So you have to evaluate the red flags and act on it. Sometimes those red flags are very important and sometimes they're just flags. You understand?
Yes.
So that itself requires some introspection and thought. Because your one choice of who you choose will affect the quality of your life the whole life. You know that. So you got to pay attention to how you are approaching these, what criteria you're using to evaluate the person. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Process is pretty much the same even if it's arranged marriage. You do have to look at a person, you really have to know somebody before you say yes or no. That is a very critical time in anybody's life. And it's unfortunate if their relationship don't work out and it falls apart. But see, when we start understanding, or we are at the age where we know that we are going to look for a partner, there are certain points, if they are clear in our mind, then it becomes a little bit easy. Each person's destiny is different, and nobody knows what is their destiny until it unfolds itself. But if we are clear that we want certain type of a person, generally speaking, a good-hearted person is good. If a person has goal in his life, if a person has clarity, what he wants to do in his life, if a person has clean habits, what are clean habits? It's not really involved in taking drugs, alcohol, womanizing, or any of those vices. Then you know the background is far a little bit clear. And then you can build on this if the person is interested in all that. So choosing a partner is the most important thing in relationship.
Yeah, and that's the baseline of it. That's the foundation. Is a criteria for choosing. Now, suppose someone has already gone through several relationships, or maybe one or two, or whatever, or they haven't had any relationships. But the pattern, like you mentioned, is very standard pattern. People typically go through a few before finally settling down one. And even then, there is no guarantee even after marriage that there will be a peace of them. Because some marriages fall apart and leave. In America, the divorce rate is very high. I'm not sure about here, but anyway, that's not so relevant. My point is something to think about, that the probability of a relationship in America is very high. So, is that better? If you've gone through a few relationships and you're sitting in this class, or maybe you hear some kind of wisdom like this, try to sit back and think, if you don't have a relationship right now, think, how can I get maximum wisdom in my next decision? Or am I going to make the same mistakes I made? Oh, the person just so good looking and I give my heart else, and then everything else is insignificant. Wait a little. Ideally, you come to wisdom stage before you in your first relationship. Like you've learned from others, you've seen how others didn't work out, and you learn, okay, I should not make this. Yes, falling in love is okay. Maybe if I fall in love with somebody and the person seems very decent in all the criteria, it's mercy of God. But if the other major red flags are still there, then maybe you have to evaluate. Maybe those red flags are workable. I still like this person so much. I think those they're doable. It's doable. Certain things are not changeable. So that requires a little bit of help and wisdom as well. In the Vedic model, and how forget about arranged marriage, but the Vedic model of thinking of personalities, there are two levels of conditioning. Okay? Conditioning means which mode of goodness, passion, ignorance is prominent in the person. It's called conditioning. We are all conditioned. One level of conditioning is this part is changeable. And then the deep level of conditioning, there's nothing you can do in this lifetime to change it. Did you know that? There are two levels. Now, the second deeper level of conditioning is what you use to determine what is my career path. I cannot change the way I am certain parts of it. So, if I'm a particular inclination, I will choose Brahmana, I'll choose the Kshatriya, different kind of fighter, different career paths. So then I make the best use of that bargain, because that's not going to change. But the parts that can change, certain bad habits that anybody can give up, that part, how easy will it be to change that person? Use that criteria. I already like one person. I'm very into the idea of spending rest of life with them, but there are certain things, can I change them or not? And see if you can make a plan for that. So those things you can think about if you are in a relationship already, and see what's workable. You can think about those things if you're looking for a partner. If you're looking for one, you're in better shape. If you already have one, that's also good, because you've made some commitment, that's also okay. The main thing is to see what is the viability of improving, so that we'll have stability in the future. Can I help that person improve? Does that person have the potential to improve? Remember, love, most of these decisions are based on potential. And after that, leave it to God. But make wisdom, use the maximum wisdom you can, and then pray to God for guidance. No matter how smart and wise everything is, sometimes it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. Yes, Masina.
You said about the conditioning and the things you can change. From my experience, I don't think we can ever change our nature, our habits, what we have formed. I remember a Gurukul teacher who left his body in Vrindavan. He said a child by the age of 5, the character is formed. After that, you can't do much. And you've been seeing this, and especially when we are 18, 20, 25. If I've got into drugs, I've got into drinking, it's not easy. Equally, all our bad habits or whatever, very difficult. So when we are choosing, we better make a choice. This is what I like and this is what I don't like. And make your decision on that.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Yes, no, absolutely right. That's what I'm saying, there are 2 levels. The deeper level which never change.
But
Now,
even that level, you
even
see,
that-
changes,
Right.
very difficult.
No, it is difficult. The other one is impossible. You see, this one is impossible. This one is difficult, but it's doable. There are people who used to take drugs, they never touch it again before that. There are people who used to smoke, they don't smoke anymore. They never look at smoke again. There are
There are very gross ones, the most subtle ones that are more difficult.
Yeah, I'm talking the gross ones. The shallow ones are the gross ones. That's what I'm saying. There are things that can be changed. But the deeper personality cannot be changed. That's this one. That's why those are advised to choose a career that is suitable for that mindset. So you still, in spite of that weakness, you actually contribute to society. If you misalign that with what you're doing for society, you end up creating more damage. That is why the guidance is given. This is not going to change. These subtle things are not going to change. In the Gita also, Arjuna wanted to change his career. I want to be a beggar, not a Kshatriya anymore. Krishna said, you won't be able to change. Don't think you can change. There's nothing you can do. You are going to pick up a arrow and start fighting people even if you're beggar. So better you be a Kshatriya. So that is not going to change. But certain things like smoking, eating the wrong things, it's good. That's what I meant. Next. Yes. Yeah. So, I'll end with a 1-sentence prayer, okay, for everyone? Just 1-sentence blessing, something positive to end on. It's a blessing and a prayer. May your home become a temple of sweet devotion. May your relationship reflect the highest value of Krishna consciousness, mutual love, service, surrender. And may you bring out the best in each other for the pleasure of the Lord. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. You should make everyone repeat. You should make everyone.
Let's give a big round of applause to So today we had a practical discussion about relationships. And one point I like Madana-gopāla said at the end, that every relationship that we go through should come up wisely. And we should also understand we're not perfect. I was remembering about the story in the Bible whereby there was the lady who people wanted to stone. And Jesus Christ said, let the person who has never sinned be the first person. So we all have faults. Even Swapnil is confirming. We all have faults in us. Yeah? But we want the best version, but we don't first look at ourselves. So if we accept people, we also give them encouragement for them to grow. That's a very important thing in relationships. That we should not expect perfect from our partner, but we should strive to become first perfect. And in this way, as Mataji was also saying, like she sees in her husband, when the husband shows the role as being perfect, the son even takes over. So similarly, in any relationship, if you take the lead, naturally your partner will become encouraged. So Madana-gopāla Prabhu is a very expert in guidance and mentorship. If anyone ever has any challenge in their life, they feel they need some guidance, you can come and see me and I'll give you his email address and his contact. You can write to him and get personal guidance one-on-one. And And with that, we'd like to stop here. We will serve dinner now. Let us conclude by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Prabhupada ki jai.